So today we're going to be making an accordion style Halloween card. To do this, we're going to use the Cricut, and you'll also need the scoring tool for the Cricut, some cardstock, of course. I'm using 8.5 by 11 here, and a marker or a Cricut marker if you want to use the Cricut to write anything, and some glue or glue stick. So to get started, you want to determine what size that you're going to use. And so I have 6 layers in this card, and so I want to fit this across 2 sheets of cardstock. So 3 layers for each, and so doing a little bit of math, I'm going to have each layer be about 3¼ inches wide and 4½ inches tall. So this is the basis of the card, that's the back, and I'm going to make 5 copies of this, each a little bit shorter than the next, so that you can have each layer visible. And each one is going to be a different color, just so I can distinguish it from each other. So now that we have all the layers, we can line them up. And we'll just use the simple Cricut Align by selecting them all, aligning left, and aligning bottom. And so for this card, I have some uploaded shapes, and I found these from the Noun project, but you can use really any SVG files that you have or find. There's a ghost, a pumpkin, a bat, a fence, grass, and a gravestone. And I'm also going to build some steps and a house in here, just with basic shapes in Cricut. Okay, and so now I'm going to do basically the lining up, and this is the part that really you can do anything that you want. You can use any shapes you want, any things you find. I'm going to make a few edits to the shapes that I have just to make them work in the way that I want to. So by slicing this, I can chop off the edge so it lines up nicely. And some of these things I'm going to use the mirror function, so that's facing the direction I want it to. So these 2 fences are flat on the edges, but they'll have a little connection going inwards, because I think it looks a little nicer. There's no really science to this. It's really eyeballing it, looking. The reason I do it in this way, where I layer it first, is just so I can see how things line up, and see what you can see through each layer. So if you can't notice something through the layer, you might not want to use it. So here's where I have to start making some shapes. So this pumpkin, I want to be sitting on top of some steps. So I'll make some steps. This out of rectangles. I'll start by making them orange so we can see them. And then I'm going to build a house. There's a blue layer that you can't quite see. It's actually going to line up. Here, I can move it. Oops. The blue layer. This blue layer is going to be the house, so we want it to line up with the bottom step. And then we can make it a little taller. So it's the bottom here. And then the house is built on this. So do a classic little kid style house with a triangle roof and a little window, and using 3 cut lines and a score, we'll make a door that opens. I'm not actually going to use this shape, but I'm going to guess where I want the door, at least with a rectangle. So now I have a house with windows cut out. And I can select these and get rid of them. I can get rid of my door because I was just lining it up. And now I'm going to make the 3 slices in a score line. So I'm actually going to use a score line and call it, or tell Cricut to cut instead of score. And this will be the door. So its hinge is going to be on the left and its cut will be on the right. I'm going to duplicate that so it keeps my cut instructions and rotate it. If I hold shift, I can get perfect. I'm going to slightly overlap this so that I know the cut will actually work, and it shouldn't be too messy to have an extra little bit there. And duplicate that one, and line it up again. And then I'm actually going to copy this other line from my score line and actually tell that one to score. And that's going to be where the door opens. Once that's all together, I want to group it so I don't mess it up. And then I can put it all back where it belongs here. And then the other thing I want to do is this ghost. For him to work, he needs to line up and overlap with the back and be attached here. And then the other thing I wanted to give him were some little feet. So I'm going to give him sort of half circle feet. Just stretch it out a little bit. And use a square to slice it in half. And this top section is going to be the foot. And I can delete all the rest. And make him that light gray color. And then the last piece that I need to slice is this bat is going to come out of the background. So I'm going to slice that. And you can get rid of the little bat shape and the sliced bat shape and send this to the back. And these are all the pieces. So you have everything together, and now it's just a matter of putting it all together on each layer and then separating the layers out and connecting them. You want to think about everything in layers and make sure everything's all attached and lined up how you'd like it. So I'm just going to go through quickly and pick all the pieces that are the same color, make sure they're lined up, and weld them. And I'm going to speed up the video so you don't have to watch it too closely. So now everything should be aligned, and we have to think about how to attach it. And here's the part that, honestly, I've messed up before. So the main point that we need to make sure is connected is this ghost to this background. To achieve that floating effect between the little feet and the ghost, he needs to be attached somewhere, and right now he's not. So we can think about this in 2 pieces because we're doing 2 separate cuts. So the first piece are the white, green, and orange layer, and the second is the blue, light gray, and dark gray layer. So to attach this, we need to think about this edge on the left of the ghost being connected to the right of the bat layer. So to do that, we need to mirror this guy and line them up. Now, since the middle one's mirrored, we don't have to mirror the 2 on the side. They should be lined up perfectly, or they should be in the right arrangement. I like to overlap just slightly so I don't mess anything up. And then align to bottom. And that is set. And then the second one to think about is how the pumpkin layer lines up to the house. So the pumpkin needs to look actually like this next to the house. And so he needs to attach on the left-hand side. So this one will need to get mirrored and attached down here. And since we mirrored this one, then next to it does not need to be mirrored. And this one would need to be mirrored, except it's actually a mirror image. So, you know, I can still mirror it for fun. And then line these all up and align bottom. Now before we weld these all together, we'll need a score line where each of these intersect so we know exactly where to fold. So I'll insert all my score lines. So once your score lines are in, we have to think about how these attach. So there's going to be an attachment between the house and the pumpkin. I'm going to put the tab on the pumpkin layer. There's no reason not to put it, or to put it there versus somewhere else. So that's going to need both a shape, a little tab shape, and a score line. I like to make tabs that have little slanted edges. So I'm actually going to cheat it by doing 2 squares on the edge, because I know I'm going to weld it. You're not going to see my messy work. It'll just look great. Okay, so now everything is set to weld together. If you group together this house, you want to make sure you ungroup it before you weld. And grab these 3. It looks like there's a little something going on there, so I'm going to undo that weld and make sure this is overlapping enough. And make sure that it's a line bottom. And do it one more time. Much better. And then we'll do the same down here. And I like to send these to the back just so I can see my score lines on top. Looks like this score line isn't quite lined up with the edge now. Here we go. And it's ready to go. Oh, except we have to attach it first. So I'm going to grab everything here and attach them. And everything down here. And attach. And now we're ready to turn on our Cricut and cut. So before we go into cutting with our Cricut, I'm going to save this, because saving is important. And then we can go. So you'll see here the material size won't let you choose 8.5 by 11. But the piece of paper, if you put it on long ways, so it's going 11 across, you'll see this cut only goes till 10. So we can lie to the Cricut, tell it we're doing 12 by 12, but actually put an 8.5 by 11 sheet on there. And the same goes for this orange layer. I like to do them in both the same color, but just wanted to see them differently as I worked with them. So now we're going to send it and cut. And after it's cut, fold all the tabs, glue the tab to the other tab, or to the other piece, and then you have this end result. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial.